Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Daniel Ricciardi. I'm a functional medicine practitioner, gut health expert, licensed pharmacist, and fitness enthusiast. I help clients with bloating, gas, and other digestive issues so they can look and feel their best. Heartburn is one of the most common digestive issues that exist. If you don't have it, chances are you probably know somebody else that does. It causes pain and discomfort to millions of people. This video is not intended to be a one-time quick fix to somebody that may have heartburn after a massive meal, but more so intended to be a long-term solution for getting rid of heartburn naturally by trying these simple, probably free approaches. And just as a heads up, the interventions that I will be talking about on this video do require some lifestyle changes on your part for them to work effectively. To explain heartburn, there's a couple definitions that you do need to know. The first is the LES, or lower esophageal sphincter. Basically, it's a smooth muscle that separates the area between the esophagus and the stomach. It's supposed to be one-way traffic of food only going down from the esophagus into the stomach and prevent anything from coming back up. The second word is chyme. That is spelled C-H-Y-M-E, and this is a mixture of the digested food, partially digested food, and stomach acid. It forms kind of a liquid solution. Heartburn is the pain that you actually feel in your esophagus when that chyme from your stomach comes up and passes the lower esophageal sphincter, which we don't want to happen. So without further ado, here are my 7 favorite, simple, probably also free ways to go about preventing heartburn naturally. Number 1 is to support stomach acid. What I'm about to say may sound counterintuitive, but in general, when you have heartburn, it's way more likely that it's actually caused by having too little stomach acid as opposed to too much stomach acid. Having strong and a lot of stomach acid is actually a really good thing because it's necessary for digesting food properly. It is possible to have too much stomach acid, but this is extremely rare. It's far more common for people to have digestive issues such as heartburn because they actually have too little stomach acid. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is heartburn is not caused by having too much stomach acid, it's by having that stomach acid in the wrong place. One great way to support stomach acid is, if you can, try to wean off, discontinue any medication that lowers stomach acid. Some of these can include proton pump inhibitors such as Prilosec, omeprazole, Nexium, histamine 2 receptor blockers, which are things such as Zantac and Pepcid, and also antacids, which are things such as Tums or Gaviscon. A word of caution here: if you do have extensive heartburn, this may take time to do, and I wouldn't recommend just weaning off these quickly. Definitely work in a structured way. If you do have significant heartburn, it may be necessary to try some of the other recommendations I'm going to explain further down in this video as well before abruptly discontinuing an acid blocking medication. The second thing you can do is, if you're overweight, is to lose weight. Obviously, nobody chooses to be overweight, but it is a fact that if you have excess weight, specifically excess fat in the abdominal area, it can lead to more heartburn. I actually experienced this several years ago when I was at my heaviest. I probably gained about 15 pounds, which really doesn't sound like that much weight, but just having that extra body fat in the abdominal area definitely made the difference. I had never had heartburn before, so this was really surprising. And then after I lost the weight, the heartburn actually went away. Having more body fat in the abdominal area does make it more likely for the chyme to travel up past the lower esophageal sphincter into the esophagus and cause heartburn. This happens because there's an upwards pressure on the stomach from the body fat, and this is what actually forces open the lower esophageal sphincter. If you are overweight, by losing weight, you can reduce this pressure on the lower esophageal sphincter, and it may help with heartburn. The third is not to overeat. The stomach can hold a lot of food, but that food has to eventually pass through the pyloric sphincter, which is a very small opening between the stomach and the small intestines, and there's a limit to how quickly that this can happen. It's kind of like watching the sand trickle through one of those hourglass timer things. It happens, but it happens slowly and only can happen so quickly. Having more food in the stomach means something known as delayed gastric emptying can occur, which basically means that food sits in your stomach longer. When this happens, the food can start to partially digest in the stomach. This partial digestion produces gas. The gas puts upwards pressure on the lower esophageal sphincter, can force it open. That chyme can then enter the esophagus where it can cause heartburn. The fourth idea is to avoid foods that can aggravate the lower esophageal sphincter. The lower esophageal sphincter, LES, as I mentioned before, is a muscle that separates the esophagus from the stomach. We want it to stay closed unless food is traveling down past it. Certain foods can aggravate this muscle though, which causes it to be forced open. Some foods I'm talking about in this scenario are fried fruits, citrus fruits, tomato-based products such as regular tomatoes, sauces, spicy foods such as hot sauce and hot peppers, chocolate, unfortunately, sorry, and then alcohol. It's really important to note that different people have different triggers to heartburn, so one person can be perfectly fine from certain foods on this list and have issues from other foods on this list. It's always depends on the person, and it's never seems to be exactly the same from one person to the next. So it may be helpful to keep a food journal, see which foods cause heartburn symptoms, which ones don't, and see if you can figure this out on your own. The fifth is drinking carbonated beverages. Drinking carbonated beverages such as pop, soda, and beer contain gas in them in the form of carbon dioxide. Some of this gas is burped out, which you know if you've had one of these, but a lot of the remaining gas actually remains in the stomach, where it can cause a lot of bloating. Also increase that pressure on the lower esophageal sphincter, which can force it open and lead to the chyme entering the esophagus and therefore causing heartburn. The sixth idea is to elevate the head of the bed while sleeping. The reason this works is pretty simple. We're just using basic gravity here. If you elevate the head of the bed slightly, it doesn't have to be an extreme angle, but maybe one extra pillow, possibly two, it can put your body on an angle where it's very difficult for the chyme in the stomach to empty back up into the esophagus. For a lot of people, it can also help you sleep better if you incline the angle that you're sleeping at, and this also can indirectly prevent heartburn. And then the last idea, number 7, is to stay upright after eating and to not eat too close to bedtime. Staying upright after eating, this kind of ties into the same thing with propping your head up a little bit more when you go to sleep. I'm mainly saying this for people that love to have a big meal and then go immediately take a nap. If you're laying flat, taking a nap like this, it's more likely for the chyme from your stomach to enter the esophagus and cause heartburn. If you're somebody that gets nighttime heartburn and this is your main issue, eliminating food for 3 hours or more if possible before you go to bed can really help with this. That is everything I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please like and subscribe to my channel. I post new full-length videos every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time and YouTube Shorts almost every day throughout the week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.